Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I am here today with a fun, cute, exciting video. In this video we're going to be reading paranormal books, but not scary paranormal books. I'm not a fan of horror films or books. I'm just not a scary kind of gal. I just like a fun time. So in this video we're going to get in the Halloween spirit and do like, you know, spooky but fun spooky. So I ended up reading, I'm filming this intro after and I'm about to explain why. I actually ended up reading a lot more books in this video than I expected. I'm putting this video up a week later than anticipated, so I just kind of kept filming and kept reading paranormal books. But yeah, I just want to make it clear that when I say paranormal, I'm very aware that these books aren't like true paranormal, and there's probably people like screaming that like these books aren't real paranormal, but they are. They have like vampires and ghosts and things in them. So yeah, you'll have probably seen in the thumbnail what books we're going to read in this video, so I won't bore you by running through them now. But I just wanted to also caveat that I started filming this video 4 days after my operation. I had a laparoscopy for endometriosis. I had endometriosis diagnosed and excised. So it was a reasonably large-ish surgery. It wasn't like open heart surgery, but it's the biggest thing I've ever had done anyway. But I just wanted to clarify that I'm not going to discuss that in this video. So if you, like me, don't really like hearing about health stuff and people being ill, don't worry. I don't mention that in this video. I very briefly mention it in the first clip in no detail at all. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify. Don't worry if you don't like hearing about health things. I'm not going to talk about that in this video because I know some people don't like it. I'm happy to talk about it. I don't know whether to maybe do a few TikToks or a video, I don't know. But whenever I talk about it, it will be separate to my reading vlog, so don't worry. Also, quite a lot of this video was filmed with me laid in the same place. For obvious reasons, I couldn't move. I was wiped out after my surgery a lot more than I expected to be. My recovery was like smooth, nothing went wrong. It was just harder mentally and physically than I expected it to be. And I was not as mobile as I expected to be. So I'm sorry if it's boring and not like eye-catching that I am just laid in the same place for quite a lot of this video. But I could not do anything about it. Unfortunately, I usually try and vary it at least a little bit, but yeah, I just couldn't for this video. But anyway, enough of me rambling on. Let's get into the first book that I read for this video.
Hello everyone. So the first book, I'm sure I've explained in the intro, I've not filmed the intro yet because I can't actually like sit up in a chair. But the first book we're going to read for this video is My Roommate is a Vampire by Jenna Levin. Excuse the hot water bottle, I've got shoulder pains from the gas that they use in the surgery. Don't worry, I'm not gonna like talk about the surgery loads at all in this video, so if you're like me and you're a bit squeamish, you don't really like hearing about people being ill, don't worry, this video isn't going to be about that. This video is just going to be about reading some fun spooky but not spooky books. So this is a rom-com basically, where our main character, whose name I've obviously forgotten, Cassie, is in dire need of somewhere to live. And she sees an ad on Craigslist for a really cheap apartment that sounds quite dodgy, but she's desperate. So she ends up moving in to this apartment with Frederick. And Frederick is a vampire. Cassie doesn't know this. We as the reader don't like officially know it yet, but obviously like look at the cover, we know that he's a vampire. And his behaviour is a bit odd, but at the minute she's just kind of laughing it off and being like, haha, he's so like just weird and funny. Like she's not really thinking, obviously you wouldn't think like, oh, they're a vampire. So yeah, I'm about, let's see what page I'm on. I've not read any of it this morning. I'm on chapter 6, page 85, and I am really enjoying it. It's a fun book. I'm hoping I can read pretty much all of it or most of it today if I just get cozy. I think I'm going to watch a bit of YouTube first, and then I think I'm going to put on like a Halloween film that I've seen like 3,000 times, so I don't actually have to sit and listen, but just for the vibes. And then read this. They are kind of at the 85 page mark. They're starting to be kind of like physically attracted to each other, but nothing like insta-lovey, I'd say. Like, it always catches me off guard a little bit, but then I have to remember, like, in real life, if you see someone and you find them attractive, like, you know pretty much straight away that you find them physically attractive, do you know what I mean? Nothing has happened between them all at this point in the book. Yeah, it's not spooky, like, the vibes are high, the tone is light, it's just cute, which is exactly what I wanted. So I'm going to continue to read this now, and I will get back to you maybe when I'm, like, halfway through, or when I finish, just whenever I've got something to say and feel like I am I was going to say presentable enough to be on camera. I mean, I think this is a stretch, like thinking that this is acceptable to be putting on the internet. But yeah, I'll get back to you when I have more thoughts on this book. But for right now, I'm enjoying how lighthearted it is, essentially. It's not it doesn't feel like gothic-y or dark at all. It's really kind of lighthearted. So that's exactly what I need, I think, at the moment. Hello all. Am I sat in the same place? Yes, but it is several days later. I know what you're thinking. Oh, like maybe you could take the hood down. No. Unfortunately not. My hair is not fit to be seen by the public. So I'm going to film this clip with my hood up. Reading updates. I have finished My Roommate is a Vampire. I gave this 3.5. It was fine. It's quite a low 3.5, to be honest. It wasn't bad, it just wasn't much of anything. This for me just fell quite flat. I feel like the plot, there wasn't one, and the characters also didn't really have massive personalities, which meant that the book being plotless was just quite boring. If the characters had been a bit more lifelike, I would have been fine not having a big plot and it just being like slice of life, finding out he's a vampire and stuff. And at the beginning I found his character quite endearing, the fact that he was a vampire and he didn't know anything about modern life. That was quite endearing at the beginning, but it just got to a point where that felt like a substitute for personality, unfortunately. And it also was like a bit unbelievable, which obviously the whole point of this book is, the whole premise is unbelievable. Like, I completely get that and I'm willing to suspend my disbelief. And there's definitely things that make sense that you wouldn't know about, like social media and the internet and fashion trends and things. But I don't know, it's like, how has he been alive for however many hundreds of years he's been alive and he just doesn't know anything? Like, I get not knowing about modern things, but it's just like he doesn't know anything. He doesn't know how to hold a conversation, like, I don't know, and it feels like he just never kind of loosens up for me. So yeah, unfortunately it fell quite flat. There was like a few pages, like, I think it was after page 300 or around that point, where obviously I won't say what, but something happens and there is actually a plot. If the whole book had have been that vibe, I think I would have loved it, but just nothing happened and the characters were boring. And I feel like Cassie, the FMC, had a personality at the beginning and almost lost her personality throughout the book, which was odd. And don't get me wrong, the plot near the end was absolutely batshit. It was completely ridiculous, but in like a fun way for me. They did mention TikTok a lot, which I completely get why that puts people off, but I think in this context it kind of worked. Like, they were mentioning it tongue-in-cheek, like it was supposed to be a joke, and a lot of the kind of plot at the end revolves around that. Not much of the book, literally about 20 pages or something, revolves around mentioning TikTok. But if the whole book had been that vibe, I'd have loved it, because those like couple of chapters were so fun, but the rest of the book, there was no fun to be found for me, unfortunately. So yeah, 3.5. I already own the next one in the series and I am going to read it anyway because it's a fake dating and I love fake dating. Oh, you wouldn't believe how many times I'm having to pause this clip to yawn. If it looks like I'm crying, I'm not. My eyes water when I yawn, and I will have cut the yawns out, but I keep having to stop talking to yawn even though I've just been asleep. Turns out surgery is quite tiring, guys. Who'd have thunk? Anyway, I have now started the next book for this. Very lucky that I didn't land on a surgical wound. I have now started the next book for this video, Mate by Ali Hazelwood. I think I've got a plan now of what I'm going to read in this video. You'll have seen in the thumbnail anyway. I think I'm going to read this and then Soul Searching by Lila Sage. But yeah, we are reading Mate. I needed something that I knew was going to be good because My Roommate is a Vampire really put me in a slump. For the last like 3 days, I've been procrastinating and doing anything other than reading. I'm not even joking. My lovely friend came round and brought me a magazine, and I've been like reading the magazine, doing the puzzles. That's not the procrastinating bit. Love a good puzzle. Love reading a bit of gossip in a magazine. I was doing that, and then instead of picking up My Roommate is a Vampire, I coloured in the face. That sounds questionable. What I mean is the main person on the front of the magazine, I used a pen and gave them like Halloween makeup, like a skeleton makeup, using a biro pen on the front of a magazine, made it look like a skeleton. I think that speaks to how little I wanted to pick up My Roommate is a Vampire. This is a different story. From page 1, plot, personality, interesting dynamics between characters, beautiful writing, humour, but high stakes. I just fucking love Ali Hazelwood, man. Like, anything this woman writes, at this point, she could publish her shopping list and I'd probably give it 5 stars. Like, there's just something about the way she writes that works for me. The humour, but like, the books don't rely on the humour. The books are actually interesting. The plot is interesting. The characters are interesting. The relationships are interesting. And then she just writes in such a way that perfectly, like, breaks the tension or even adds to the tension at the right moment by using humour. And I just adore the way she writes. So this book, I haven't even read the back. I went in completely blind. This is a sequel to Bride. And already, I'm not very far into this at all. What page am I on? I'm literally on page 27. So I had to stop in the middle of a chapter to go to sleep. Not because the book was boring, but because it was time for my nap. But I wanted to start reading this first. So I got as far in as I could before I fell asleep. Anyway, in the first 27 pages, we've seen a lot of Misery and Low, who are the main characters from Bride. So I would say, I mean, I'd read Bride anyway. It was like a 6-star read for me. I adored it. But yeah, I would say already read Bride just so it makes sense. Things are being explained in this book, but I think it would be helpful to know, like, the background of the world and things. Just yawned again, shock. I think it would be helpful to read Bride just to know a bit more about what's going on politically in this world and kind of a bit more about the prominent side characters. But in this book, we're following, I don't know how to say his name. Is it Cohen or Cohen? I'm going to have to look that up and hear other people talk about this book so I know how to say his name. But Cohen, I think it's Koen, and Serena. Serena is half human, half werewolf, and Cohen is full werewolf and the alpha of a pack. Oh, and they're mates, which I don't always love in a book, but I think in a book like this where it's like werewolves, it works and it makes sense. They're mates and they know that right from the beginning of the book, but they're not together. So I'm imagining the tension. Clock it. I'm literally loving this already. I'm not going to be colouring in face paint onto magazines today. I can tell you that much for free. So yeah, I'm just going to sit here, obviously, because I can't do much else. I'm watching a bit of YouTube. I watched Halloween Town yesterday to try and get me in the mood to read My Roommate is a Vampire. It didn't work. Great film, though. Enjoyed it. I've never seen it before, which is weird. I don't know why I've never watched Halloween Town. But yeah, great film. Would recommend. Definitely cheesy, don't get me wrong. It's like a cheesy Disney kids film, but I enjoyed it. It was definitely Halloween vibes, because I'm not a horror kind of gal. I don't know if I've said this. I assume I have. In book or film format, I'm not a horror kind of gal. I'm a Halloween kind of gal. I want fun, I want whimsy, I want pumpkins. And that's what Halloween Town gave. And a bit of drama along the way. Anyway, completely off track now. I'm going to go. It's a different day and I'm still here. I am feeling a lot more like myself now, though. I'm filming here because it's just not comfortable to sit up in a chair still. I'm like, you can't tell from here, it looks like I'm sat up in a chair. I'm not. I'm like reclined on a sofa, so I'm a lot more comfortable. What page-ish am I on? I've just listened to a bit. I think I'm just under page 200. I'm almost at page 200 and I'm not enjoying it. And I don't even know what to do with that piece of information. I have never not enjoyed an Ali Hazelwood book. There are some that I've rated higher than others. There were some that just aren't my favourite. But I think I rated one of her books 3.5 and then all of the others have been like 4.25 and above. A lot of which have been 5 stars or very, very close to 5. Bride, as I said, was a 6-star. So I don't quite know what to do with the information, that I'm just not really enjoying this. And I think there's a few reasons why. I think at the beginning of this book, the timeline was a bit all over the place. So it's not fully dual timeline, but at the beginning we jump around a lot. The problem is that we jump between time periods that are really close together. It's not as if we're jumping back to a different place with a clear distinction, or to when Serena was clearly a different age. Like, we're jumping back like 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, like really close together. And therefore, because the places and the people and they're all the same age are so close, it's really hard to, not hard to sequence it as I'm reading it, But then I move on to the next chapter and then I'm like, oh wait, when did that conversation happen? Like, when did she learn that? When did that happen? Like, it's really hard to kind of sequence the intricacies of when certain conversations happened, and it really kind of does matter for the relationship development when certain things happened. And it's, I don't want to say it's difficult as if this book is like really confusingly written and complex. It isn't. I think at the beginning we just jumped around a bit too much. I think we should have just stayed in one time period for a bit and really established Serena a bit more as a character and what's going on. I am glad that we've jumped straight in after the end of Bride, don't get me wrong. I didn't want to go back to the beginning and it be really slow, but I think there's a middle ground, and I think it just felt a bit all over the place, and it was therefore hard to get kind of settled in the book and connect to the characters. And I think that's also a big problem, is that I just don't feel connected to the characters. I like Serena, I'm more connected to her, but also she's a bit dumb. Like, I get that she's half were, half human, so there's obviously going to be things she doesn't know. I'm going to be really vague because I don't want to spoil anything, but like, how stupid can you be to not realise what's happening to you? And I don't mean at the hands of someone else. How kind of dumb do you have to be to not kind of understand? I can't explain it, but hopefully if you've read the book, you know what I mean. Like, there's something that's happening and she's just kind of accepted that one thing is happening, but it's so oblivious, but it's so obvious to me that something else is actually happening and not the thing she thinks it is. But like, it's so clear, and I feel like she's accepted this reality much too easily without considering this reality, and therefore that's kind of keeping me away from being fully connected to her a little bit, because she's just a bit dumb. And then Cohen, I really liked him at the beginning. I liked his snarkiness, but it's just getting a bit boring now. Like, do you have a personality other than snarky one-liners? Like, can you just, do you know what I mean? It feels like, I love the humour in Ali Hazelwood's books, but in this one, it almost feels like there's nothing else to Cohen other than being grumpy and doing snarky one-liners. I feel like we need to start seeing glimpses of another side of him to really kind of allow me to connect a bit more deeply with this book, because I'm just not. The plot's fine, but also I think that's a bit wishy-washy as well. Like, there's like two kind of main things that are happening that are linked, and then there's the relationship that isn't existent at this time. But I don't know, it just all feels a bit wishy-washy. I feel like in Bride, even though I adored the characters in Bride and I would have read about them doing anything, I feel like there was just a bit more of a plot in Bride. It was a bit more clear what we were all trying to do, and do you know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like this one's just a bit, it's not all over the place, it's just, I feel like there's a central thread that's missing at the minute. We've got lots of components and they're just not really working together for me. And this is all making me very sad, because I thought this was going to be a 5-star. I've read a lot of mid books recently, and I just thought, oh, this just will be 5 stars. Like, I adore Ali Hazelwood and I adored Bride. And I don't know what to do with the fact that it isn't. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I'll probably just come back to you now when I finish this one. And then hopefully it will improve and we'll see what we're going to read next. I'm now on page 300 of Bride. And I know I said I'd shut up about this book now until I finished it, but I have thoughts, and I feel like if I don't share them, they're just going to disappear out of my brain. Another problem that I'm having, everything I said before stands. I'm still not having a good time. I'm not having a bad time, but I'm not having a good time. It's sitting at like a 3-star, which I never thought I would rate an Ali Hazelwood book 3-star, but here we are. I've not finished it yet. Maybe it'll get better. Hopefully it doesn't get worse. Anyway, everything I said before stands. I think I don't like the issue that has arisen, the barrier. I don't like it. I think it's flimsy, and it's not creating tension for me. It's just annoying me. So that's one thing. But also, there's not much romance in this book, which would be fine. However, the whole plot and everything Cohen does hinges on the fact that there should be some emotional connection between him and Serena. And I think there's supposed to be, but I can't feel it, and I can't understand where it developed from. Maybe I'm just not far enough into the book yet, and I don't like insta-love. I don't want them to be in a relationship, married with babies at this point, of course not. But I feel like they're telling us that they like really deeply care for each other. But beyond the mate thing, I can't understand why or how or when did you start, like, especially on Cohen's part, like, when? I don't get it. I feel like we're just not seeing into his head enough. Like I said before, it's a lot of snippy one-liners, but we're just not really getting any emotion. And then with Serena, she uses humour to cope, which I adore. Like, her and Misery both do it, and I love it. I've said before, I love Ali Hazelwood's humour, but I think there needs to be some moments in this book that have emotional depth, whether that be to do with the romance or not, and I'm still not getting any 300 pages in. And as I said, when the whole point of the book, like everything that everyone's doing is centering around Serena, but then there's no romance in the book, like, I don't know how to explain it, but it doesn't make sense when the whole plot is hinging on a relationship and on a romantic connection that doesn't seem to exist and doesn't seem to be developing or isn't developing on page. I'm just confused. I'm honestly confused. And I just wanted to pop in and add that I'm just still not having a great time. I actually will shut up now until I finish this. But I'm so frustrated that I'm not enjoying this. Like, I'm so sad about this. No one is more surprised and sad about this than me. One more thing. And then I'm going to go away. This isn't a spoiler, by the way, because of the title of the book. It literally says it on the back and you find it out right at the beginning regardless, but obviously they're mates. And Cohen knows this, and he tells Serena, like, right at the beginning of the book that they're mates in a flashback scene. So they're both very aware that they're mates. However, you would expect that to produce tension, would you or would you not? The fact that they're mates but aren't together, you would expect would cause some kind of tension. However, both Cohen and Serena just accept that. They're like, okay, yeah, we're mates, but, like, we're not going to be together. No, like, unpacking. No, they're just not bothered about that. Whereas I feel like in this world, they keep bringing up the fact that being a mate is, like, a massive deal. Like, no one in the pack would touch her because that's Cohen's mate. No one would hurt her because that's his mate. But they're both just so easy breezy about the fact that they're mates, yet can't be together, that it's creating absolutely no tension and it's adding nothing. I would so much rather, like, Cohen have an inkling that Serena's his mate, but, like, not tell her because he doesn't fully believe it, he doesn't want to accept it. That, for me, would create a lot more tension than them both knowing that they're mates and just not caring and it having no impact. I mean, not no impact. At this point in the book where I am now, it is having an impact, but it's still not creating tension. The mate thing in combination with the barrier to them being together, that I won't name because I don't want to spoil that, both of those things together aren't working for me. It's the barrier to them being together, I think, that is ruining the fact that they're mates, because of the barrier, the fact that they're mates doesn't mean anything. So what's the point? And, like, I would like them to end up being mates, but what's the point in them knowing about it and not doing anything about it? Like, there's no point. Anyway, bye. I want to point out that this is a different hoodie. The haters will say I've been sat in the same clothes all week. I haven't. I've changed every day and this is a different hoodie. Okay, anyway. I have finished, mate. The light in here is crap, so I'm going to make this a really short clip. I think I'm going to give it 3 stars, but honestly, it might be less. I'm going to give it a 3 for now and then see how I feel about it over the next few days, and I might end up lowering it to a 2.75. I didn't have a good time, and if this was written by not Ali Hazelwood, I think I would have DNF'd it. I only finished it because I had faith that she could turn it around, and she didn't. No one is more shocked, devastated by this news than me, that I have given an Ali Hazelwood book this low of a rating. 3 stars in general isn't a low rating. It really isn't. A 3-star can absolutely mean that I enjoyed a book. It just means it wasn't anything special. So it's not a low rating. But a 3-star for an Ali Hazelwood book, for me, is incredibly low, as we have established. All my previous thoughts stand. I'm not going to repeat any of those. The only thing I will add is that right up until the end, of this book. It felt like, I'm not going to say what the two things are because they're not in the synopsis and I don't want to risk spoiling anything. But there's two quite prevalent things outside of the romance, linked to the romance but not part of the romance itself. Two kind of plot points that we are contending with. One that is a barrier to the couple being together, and one that is just some crazy shit that's going off. It feels like Ali thought, oh, I really want to do a book with these two things in, and then did that, but didn't really add anything else into that book and didn't really make those two things fit seamlessly. I felt like we were constantly changing between them. It didn't feel like the book was woven together. It felt like a series of random scenes that, especially at the beginning, weren't always sequenced very well. And we were just going between Ali writing like fun scenes that she wanted to write about this thing and this thing. I don't know. I can't explain it any better than that without spoiling anything, so I'm not going to. But yeah, the book just didn't feel cohesive to me. It didn't feel like the two things were linked. The romance wasn't strong. This wasn't a romantic book. Bride wasn't massively, but I loved the characters in Bride, and I really enjoyed the plot. I felt like Bride was stronger because we got to know about the world and the politics, and I found that really interesting. I love politics in books, so I loved that aspect. So that made up for the fact that it wasn't the most romantic romance I've ever read in my life. But in here, the romance still didn't hit. I'm not saying it didn't hit in Bride. The romance hit in Bride. I'm just saying it wasn't the most like detailed, flowery, romantic thing ever. In this book, the romance for me didn't hit at all. And I didn't enjoy either of the two plot topics that I was talking about. I didn't like either of them. And I liked Serena. The best thing about this book for me was seeing the friendship between Misery and Serena again. That was the best bit. Everything else just kind of flopped for me, unfortunately. So I'm going to give it a 3 and I'm going to sit on that. So far we're not having much luck in this video, but I am about to start Ella Sage's new book, which is, I believe, her first paranormal. I think she's only written cowboy romance. I've only read cowboy romance by her. That might be a complete lie. She might have written other things in the past. But anyway, this hasn't had the best reviews either, to be honest. So am I that hopeful? No, but maybe that's a good thing. I have no idea what it's about. I haven't even read the synopsis, quite frankly. So I'm going to go and start in on that, get a grasp of what it's about, and then I will come back to you and give you a little update on how I'm feeling when I'm like a little bit into the book. Oh my God, I'm in a different place. I'm just sat upstairs in the book room. However, I am now about 50% through soul searching, so I just wanted to give you a little update. I've gone back to work today and I'm on my lunch break, so I've got about 20 minutes to sit down and read, but I just wanted to give you a brief update before I sat down and said reading. I'm having a great time. I'm having a really, really great time. I didn't expect to love this as much as I am. Don't get me wrong, it's not giving 5-star, but it's giving like solid 4-star vibes. It's really fun. I can't remember if I actually told you what this was about. Let me put the camera down because this is shaky and tell you what this book is actually about. So we've got our two main characters, Collins and Brady. So Collins is from this really tiny small town called Sweetwater Peak, but she hasn't lived there now for a while. She moved away. Her family still lives there. Her twin sister still lives there, but she moved away to kind of pursue other things. Her actual job is that she is a photographer, so she kind of travels around and does photography. Brady is not from Sweetwater Peak, but he does live there. He moved there around a year ago. Collins, ever since being a child, and also her twin sister, they've both been able to see and speak to, communicate with ghosts. It's like as if the ghosts are kind of there with them. They can talk, have two-way conversations. They see the same ghosts all the time. Like, it's almost like the ghosts are kind of friends and family to them at this point. But at the beginning of this book, Collins can't hear the ghosts anymore. She can still kind of vaguely see them, but she can't hear them anymore. And she's also going through quite a lot otherwise in life. She's got a lot going on, so she comes back to Sweetwater Peak for a few different reasons, and she ends up living with and working for Brady. And yeah, that's basically like the general synopsis. But I think Lila Sage has done such a good job with the tone and the vibe of this book. It feels spooky but not scary. It's kind of, I don't know how to describe it. Like, it's got a darkness to it, but it's not too dark. It's not doom and gloom all the time. It's still kind of funny, and it has that small town charm. The only thing I would say, which is a kind of a criticism, is that I wish we got a bit more knowledge and we got to see a bit more of the small town. We're seeing a lot of it kind of physically,
They are going around like quite a few different places. Collins is trying to reconnect with the place that she grew up to kind of try and get her abilities back, and in the meantime showing Brady around, because he's not really explored, even though he's lived there for a year. He's not really kind of put himself out there and really explored the town at all. So they are like physically going around, but what I mean is I wish we were meeting more people. We've only really properly met one other character that's outside of her immediate family, like other than her parents, her twin sister and Brady. We've met one other person. And I just wish that we were seeing more of the town. And I get like it's a very, very small town. Most of the shops are shut down and things. But I don't know, I just wish we were seeing a few more people, I suppose, and just getting that kind of proper small town feeling. Because I love that in a small town book, where you get to see like, I don't know, I want to know what little shops are there and who runs the local cafe and all that cute kind of stuff. I don't want to focus on those characters for too long, but I do like meeting them and getting a little bit of an insight into those characters. So I wish we were getting a little bit more of that. But what I think Lila Sage has done really well here is that Brady, or MMC, he doesn't believe in ghosts. He has none of these abilities. This is all very new to him. So I think having one of the main characters in the same position as the reader, where this town is new to them, because yeah, he's lived there for a year, but like he's barely left his house. The town is new. The whole idea of ghosts and communicating with ghosts is new to him. As someone who has also never communicated with a ghost, I really appreciate having his eyes to see things through. I don't know if that makes any sense. It doesn't feel like I've been dropped into some paranormal world where everyone knows what's going on and I don't. I think it's really nice to have a character that also doesn't have a clue and you're kind of learning with him. I don't know, I really like it. I'm having a great time. So I'll probably just come back to you now when I've done, unless something drastically changes, but I don't think it will. I think this is probably going to be like a solid 4-star read, which I needed in this video. I really needed. Yeah, I'm back on the settee, but I've put mascara on, so I don't think we can complain. I also have a lip tint on, but I think it just looks like I've got chocolate around my mouth. I haven't. It's just, I don't think the shade of lip tint suits me, so I love that. Anyway, I finished Soul Searching and I gave it a 4.25. It's been a few days since I finished it, between that and me filming this. I gave it a 4.25. I honestly think I might up it to a 4.5. I can't stop thinking about it and I just loved it. It's not a 5-star, so I'll just quickly run through why it's not 5-star. The thing about the small town still stands, the fact that I wish we just got to know a few more people, but I think this is going to be a series. So maybe that will just come with time, because there's not many people here. So maybe Lila Sage just didn't want to whack them all in book one and kind of give too much away maybe. So I can let that slide. Another thing that did bother me, but I can kind of let slide, is that the relationship between the two sisters, Collins and Clark, is on the rocks, like quite a lot throughout this book. They have like a bit of a strange relationship. And I wish that was resolved a bit more. I think if I was Clark, I would have wanted more of an apology than she got from Collins. And I think, was it Ellen that mentioned? Ellen Catherine, I think, said the same in her video, and I agree. I think if I was Clark, I would have wanted more. And I think their relationship was fixed maybe a bit too quickly. But I think from the way that this book ended, there's going to be another book and it's going to be Clark's book. So maybe we'll just get more of that in that book. Similarly, the stuff with Toads, obviously I won't say any more than that, I don't want to spoil anything, but that whole situation there, again, wish was wrapped up a bit more. But because Clark adores Toads and wants to take over it, that's like her life, I'm thinking we might get more details about that plot line in Clark's book as well. So I can kind of forgive all of those things because I think they might come in the next book, or I don't know if it's just a duology or what. Anyway, might come a bit later in the series. The one thing that bothered me that I kind of can't look past, the reason that this isn't a 5-star, I don't think I mentioned anywhere in this video that Collins hates Sweetwater Peak. That's one of the reasons she kind of stays away and travels around all the time. She has a real aversion to home, to settling down, to having any kind of connection to things. She says in the book that she will frequently just leave belongings behind and just like drop everything and move. Like she really doesn't like connection and belonging. And that stems from Sweetwater Peak. However, we don't really know why. And I think that's probably not going to come later in the series because it's so personal to her. But we don't really learn why. Like her reasons are so wishy-washy. She kind of says like, oh, my family are too nice and they see me as being so perfect and I'm not, so it's hard to come home. And it's like, girl, please. I get that like family dynamics can be really difficult, but I think if you're going to make that such a big plot line in a book, there needs to be a stronger reason. I think there needed to be some kind of event or just something that happened
to make her feel so strongly, because it's not just kind of, oh, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Like, I know a lot of people say they actually feel closer and more connected to the family when they move away, but Collins, like, hates it there. Like, she feels so strongly. And also at the beginning of the book, I thought she was really rude. Like, to her sister and to her parents, she was really rude. Like, when she went back home, bearing in mind she doesn't go back very often, when she went back home, she, like, didn't want to see her parents for the first few days. So I'm thinking, oh God, they must have done something awful to her. But we never really learned that they did. And that was a sticking point for me, because so much of the plot hinges on the fact that, and her personality actually completely hinges on the fact that she hates this place and that she feels disconnected from her family, but we don't know why. And I think having a really strong reason there would have made this a 5-star for me, because I did absolutely adore it. I can see why this isn't people's favourite in terms of a romance, because it was a very kind of quiet, sweet love. It wasn't a big dramatic relationship. It was very normal, and I think I was just in the mood for that. I don't know, I just really loved it. Don't get me wrong, I love a big dramatic love that's like a bit messy, but this wasn't that. It was a very calm kind of love, and I just loved that. I just thought it was really sweet. I had a great time. Can't wait for the next book. I have no idea when it's coming out. I think, is it like, I can't remember, did I see it was like March next year, but I might have just completely literally made that up off the top of my head. But this was great. I'm so glad that I didn't listen to people's reviews and that I just read this anyway, because I had a fantastic time. And the next book we're going to read in this video is Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. I don't know why I'm laughing. No, I kind of do. Okay, so I watched the Twilight films as a kid. I had the merch. I was Team Jacob. I'll tell you that. I was Team Jacob as a kid, but I can't remember why. I think I did read the books at some point. I'm sure I read them when I was a kid. I don't think I would have watched the films and not read the books. I didn't really tend to do that as a child. Even now, I don't really tend to do that. I don't know why. Anyway, no one needs to see me unpack my psyche. I'm pretty sure I read them, but I don't remember reading them. I didn't own copies of them. That's the only thing that makes me think I didn't, unless I borrowed them from the library, maybe. Because I don't really get rid of books that I had when I was a kid. Anyway, I don't remember it. I remember the very basic plot of Twilight, like the whole vampire, werewolf, love triangle thing, but beyond that, I honestly don't remember anything. I remember like vague names of characters, but not who they are or their personality. So I was basically going in fresh. Like, I had no more knowledge than someone who hadn't ever watched or read Twilight. I think my level of knowledge would be just what you would get from hearing people discuss it or like seeing TikToks about it. I don't remember any kind of detail about it. So I was going in very fresh. And also, despite the fact that I had the merch and I really loved Twilight, the films as a kid, I don't have any kind of nostalgic connection to it, which I think, again, helps going in fresh, but also could be to my detriment, because I think a lot of people's love for this series now as an adult relies on their nostalgia, and I just don't have any. Like, with the Hunger Games, for example, that I probably read around a similar-ish time, maybe a bit after, but I was a similar-ish age, has stuck with me. I rewatch the films all the time. I've reread the books genuinely about 15 times at this point. Even now, I still watch the films. I'm reading the new books that are coming out in the universe and seeing the new films. Like, I've always continued to watch and read and feel connected to like the Hunger Games. I don't have that with Twilight. I haven't even watched the films since I was a kid. So I have no nostalgia or connection to Twilight at all, which I thought was interesting, the fact that I know that I have seen them and I'm sure I read at least a couple of the books, but I just have no memory of it at all. But anyway, that was really rambling. Twilight is the next book that we are going to read in this video. Hello, apologies for the ugly lighting. It's very overcast outside and I've had to have the big light on, which is ugly. Anyway, I'm now 29% through Twilight, so I thought I would share with you just kind of my initial reactions off the bat. So I went into this thinking the writing probably wasn't going to be very good and it was going to be quite cringy. And it is a bit cringy, obviously, don't get me wrong. It's a teen vampire thing. I think there's always going to be some element of cringe in there. But the writing is actually a lot better than I expected it to be. It's making it a lot easier to read, the fact that the writing's not bad. And it's not as cringy as I thought. So again, making it easier to get through. I'm actually more interested in the plot also. I forgot so much of what happened. There's a lot that I forgot, so it's
a better reading experience than anticipated. And I wouldn't say I'm like obsessed, don't get me wrong. Again, as I said before, it's not like up there. It's not like a kind of nostalgic thing for me. So I am purely basing my opinions on the actual merit of the book and its writing, the plot, the characters. The only thing that's really bothering me is Edward, and I knew that was going to be the case. I just knew that this like 500 crusty dusty year old man pretending to be a teenager would bother me. But what I didn't remember is it's also bothering me that Jacob has just turned 15, like freshly 15, and like 14 sounds really young, and he's just turned 15, and Bella is 17. Obviously nothing is going on there at this point, but I don't know, that just weirded me out. So I'll be keeping an eye on the ages thing. That's the only thing that's kind of really bothering me at the moment. I'm actually enjoying how much kind of normal life stuff we're getting, like friendship stuff and school stuff and going shopping for the dresses, like just the little everyday things. Again, I forgot that was included. It's nice, I think, that we're getting to see like some normal high school kind of experience alongside the whole holy shit, a vampire's real vibe. So I'm having a better time than I thought I was. I'm gonna carry on listening to some of it this morning. I am starting work soon, so I won't be able to listen to it too much before I start. But yeah, I'm gonna listen to a little bit more of it this morning, and I'll probably get back to you when I'm maybe like between 50 and 70% through. Take back everything. I'm now 60% through. Guys, what is wrong with Edward? Like, I don't understand. Why are we all team Edward? Why aren't we team no one? Why aren't we team no one? He is weird. Like, what do you mean? He's so emotionally manipulative. He's like watching her sleep and she's rightfully a little bit kind of like concerned about that, and he's like, don't be concerned. You're weird. Like, you're actually weird. And I feel like Bella has turned into, like, at the beginning she was just kind of a typical teenager. I feel like now at 60% she's an absolute wet lettuce and she's being completely manipulated by this man. Also, how I said before that I was enjoying like the more day-to-day stuff, I definitely was, but I feel like 60% through a vampire book, we should have a bit more going on than this. I was hoping that we would have been, I don't know, just a bit further in. And I know that there's a lot of books, there's not a lot of books in this series. There's obviously a few books after this one. Some of them are very large. I get that we've still got a lot of time for things to happen. But I don't know, I just felt like I was hoping that more would be happening other than just literally focusing on this dead-ass romance at this point in the book. I feel no chemistry between them. Not that I was expecting to, because it's like a teenage vampire romance. I wasn't expecting to feel sparks flying off the page, but I was expecting to have something else of interest in the book to compensate for that. And unfortunately, that's not the case. I was more interested 30% ago than I am now at 60% through, and I just don't think that should be the case. But I will get back to you when my thoughts change, develop, or when I've finished or DNF'd, I don't know, the book. Hello everyone. I have just finished Twilight, and I think I'm going to give it a 2-star. I did not have fun. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to everyone that loves this. Edward is one of the ickiest men or children. How old is he? I don't know, 517. One of the ickiest people I have ever read about in a book. I just don't get it. Like, I'm confused. Because he's manipulative, he's controlling, but like, is that the point? Is he supposed to be? But then I don't understand, because she ends up with him, right? I'm sure at the end of the series she ends up with Edward. So I don't understand that. I'm confused. I just really don't like him. I didn't find him like swoony at all. I didn't see how Bella could like him. I just didn't, I don't know. I just didn't like him, and I feel like a lot of this book hinges on liking him and liking their relationship, and I don't. I don't know. I think the fact that I don't have the nostalgia that other people have meant that I didn't like this. I can get that if I read and loved this when I was younger and I was rereading it now, I can 100% see why people would be able to look past the not so great parts of Edward if they already had that kind of connection to him, but I don't. Like, I get that a lot of people probably read this when they were either Bella's age or younger and kind of fell in love with Edward alongside Bella, but obviously I didn't, and I'm 27. So I don't know, I just don't love him and therefore didn't love the book. I also found the first like maybe 20% interesting. I really enjoyed just like getting to know everyone, getting to know Forks. As I mentioned, I enjoyed the like slice of life bits that we got near the beginning to kind of build a more normal teenage picture before we got into the vampire stuff, but then I felt like it took too long. Bella had this big revelation of like, oh shit, he's a vampire. But then I feel like she was just kind of okay with that quite quickly, and we didn't learn as much as I thought we were gonna about, I don't know, vampires and the relationship between the vampires and the werewolves. And do you know what I mean? I didn't learn as much about that as I kind of wanted to. And then the plot definitely picked up at around the 80% mark. It really did pick up. But by that point, I just, not that I didn't care, like my heart was racing a little bit in that bit, but I don't know, I just already wasn't invested in the book by the time we got to the kind of action bit. So I really don't know. I already own New Moon, so I don't know whether to just start that anyway, but honestly I just don't feel like I'm going to enjoy the series. Maybe I'll go look at some non-spoiler reviews for New Moon and see what people kind of think, see if people's ratings are different from the first book to the second. But yeah, that is Twilight done and ticked off. And that brings us to the end of this video. I have also just filmed the intro, so I'll look the same at the beginning and the end. But yeah, that's the end of this video. I had a fun time. Even the books in here that I wasn't obsessed with, they were all like fun. I had a great time filming this. And so much so that I'm filming another version of this to put up, I think probably next week. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up down below if you did enjoy. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.